Peace, YouTube. This is Fleur Room coming to you. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm always on time. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. I'm here. Hopefully you can see me. You can see me. I'm sorry I'm late. Checking on in.
What if I were to tell you
Oh
that the
wow.
purpose of our highest
I've
potential
got a lot of
is to
sounds going
transcend
on
linear
here.
thinking and bring it into
Hold on.
superhuman or cosmic consciousness? In this series, we will be unlocking the deepest mysteries.
Okay, I think you can see me. Okay, I think I have a little bit of a delay here. Okay, I have two screens on, so I got a lot going on. Hold on, family. I'm gonna turn. Okay, I've got a little bit of a delay. Okay. Okay, I've got to turn things off. I'm sorry about that. Peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. Everyone is back home. That I had to get into. Yeah, this echoes. So I turned everything off. I had two different screens going. I can actually, hopefully I can read your comments here. I have two screens up. I actually see your screen over here. I can actually read your comments a little better, which is nice. So again, peace to the east, the west, the north, and the south. This is Fleur Room coming to you today with a new topic of discussion. It's all good. So listen, family, we're going to get into the twinning conversation. Twins, fear of the inevitable. So I think before I left to go to Brazil, I'm back to, hey Sensei, I'm back from Brazil. So it took me a while to get a little acclimated. I hadn't been home for days. Even when I got back to Orlando, I wasn't even at my house. So finally I've gotten a chance to relax a little bit, and twinning is the new conversation. And big up to all the sun stars and sea stars, especially Sensei, who kind of made me alert that Chris Brown is actually making an album in that enlightened sense of twinning. So a lot of people are actually experiencing the twinning fever. I actually think it's a fever. Fever for the flavor of a Pringle. Remember that? I think a lot of people are experiencing yearning for twinning, or yearning to feel together with their divine partners that have literally been lost to them for the last few incarnations. So as I discussed prior to me leaving, I decided to let my twin decide to actually engage with my twin in a way that would allow for me to vet out what the twinning phenomenon is truly about. I've told you before, I was a punk. I ran away from my twin. I saw my twin a mile away. When I saw them, I was like, nah, I'm a pass on this one, because I totally didn't want to be a party to something that I felt would put me in a very vulnerable disposition. It's not to say that I don't I love loving. I absolutely encourage everyone to engage in relationships which allow them to experience their highest and greatest form of mating. You know, we talk about that. I always, I had several shows on, wait, so Filmstress is saying right now, Filmstress is saying he's insulting a certain one of us that don't look or have hair like his past girlfriends. Chris Brown is not a good indication of a healthy twinner. Even if he's in the actual frequency of twinning, doesn't mean he's healthy. Everybody's going to have an option to twin, but the actual Chris Brown, to my knowledge, is suffering from highest forms of Stockholm syndrome and past trauma from his childhood. And his choices in women are probably in the frequency of those who are out of alignment, who don't remind him of his mother. That's just my personal opinion. You can have something different. I think a lot of times, Chris Brown, remember when Chris Brown was with Rihanna? And remember, these are celebrities, so their life is not realistic in a sense. Everything is kind of propagandaed. What we hear is not always what it is. We only see the best or the bad of them, the worst of them. So I can't really speak for him on a personal level, because I don't know him personally. I don't really know anything about him personally. I know that he suffers from past trauma from his youth with his mother and I think stepfathers or what have you. He's a bit vile with women. He has a lack of balance to my knowledge, and that's only from what I get from propaganda. I don't really follow him like that. I'm not a Chris Brown fan, because once he went and did a 1-2 on Rihanna and bit her up, and I'm sure she did her big up to Rihanna, part of the nigga line. But once he did a little bit of a 1-2 and bit her up and gave her black eyes and whatnot, and another young lady, and he was stalking one he was dating, he's not really a good proponent of what you consider to be a twinning phenomenon. I wouldn't fall, but what I'm saying is he's in the frequency of twinning. Just his music, you can see that he's just emanating that frequency of twinning. That's it. I take things for what I see and what I experience. I'm not really going into his personal life. I don't know him. Like I said, I don't really know him personally, but I've seen what he's done to women. I've just seen the visuals and what's been propaganda. So he isn't what I deem to be a healthy divine male. Divine males will show up a little differently, a little healthier and balanced within divine feminine. So we shouldn't use him as a good example. But his music is in the frequency of twinning. That's all I used him for. Could be a ghostwriter for all we know. You're right. You know what, Quantum Sensei? It may not even be him, because a lot of times these artists don't even write their own music. It's not like back in the days when you heard, homies would be up in the, having heartache, and they would go up in the studio and, pour out their heart space, or they had, what I'm saying? A lot of times the artists are just puppets to the industry. So the industry or whoever's writing will have songs, and they'll give it to a few artists, and the one that they deem might make the most money, or become the most popular with the song, that's the one that they generally will let have the music. So you're absolutely right, Sensei. Let's not even use him. Let's talk about twinning. Big up to all the twin flames in the house. Big up to the sun stars and sea stars that are encouraged and actually experiencing some of the twinning phenomenon. Flurboon is experiencing a heightened amount of twinning. As I said before I left, I actually made a decision not to run away from my twin flame, and to allow him and I to have a little bit of a interconnection, to a lot for me to kind of simmer down my anxiety with my twin. So, I always go on my personal journey, and gosh knows it's been a journey for the last year. Many of you watch me go through my evolutionary process, fasting, going to Brazil. Everything's 30 days. So I'm doing 30 days with the twin. So as I came back, the twin was sending me messages abroad, threatening to come and accost me in South America. My twin is just like Flurboon. He is a male version of Flurboon. And that is a little frightening to me, because I have a personality that's really overt. I'm a fire sign, a triple fire sign, makes me hyper, makes me a little more assertive in everything. And because of that, whenever you have a male counterpart that is the male version of Flurboon, it's like triple, it's 10 times fire in the yard. So you could just imagine what my twin flame is like if he's like me to the 10th power, okay? So that's why you saw me running, running in the wind. He sounds very thirsty. According to him, he wasn't getting his palate quenched, according to him. So anyway, so I made it a point, I told my twin, I don't really want you coming to where I'm at. My experiences, I'm very healthy in that way. I'm okay to experience my life in a healthy way on my own without always needing to field with a male to validate myself. I feel healthy. I'm okay with me. I've just been in a journey to become okay with me. Remember, that wasn't always the case. So I don't sit here saying I'm the bomb.com. I'm not. I'm just okay with me at this point and stage in my evolutionary process. So because of that, my twin was in Central America. He wanted to come down, and I disallowed it because I'm with my little people. It's not that kind of party. Even though I enjoyed myself in South America, that was my own personal journey, and I didn't really want anybody infiltrating and altering how I experienced Brazil. So big up to Brazil. Big up to all the homies in Brazil. Yeah. Anyway, so Flurboon came back, had communication with the twin, and decided to allow the twin to, to be in the midst of the twin without resistance. So this is the first time that I was able to kind of let my guard down a little bit and interact with my twin. And like I said, my twin is a very strong, higher energy field being, likened to myself. And I will say, family, I'm going to keep it real because I don't know what else to do. It is very scary. It is very scary to be with a being that has that inside of you, you have a connection to in a way that's so superhuman. It's so super quantum. It's like a quantum entanglement that you feel on a cellular level. It's almost like coming online when you've been offline for like centuries. So just imagine, I had to take down some of the anxiety that I was feeling. And I'm cool with mating and I love our divine males. I'm really fairly cool and confident amongst any males. But this particular male, because I know him to be my twin, has me feeling as if my whole world is going to collapse. That's how it feels. And it feels so divinely, you feel so connected to them that it's frightening. That's how it feels. It feels so intense to the point where every cell in your body in their midst is on fire, literally. And I know why they say twin flames. Now I understand why they use the word flame when they kind of talk about twinning. I realize why the word flame, because you feel hot. And it's not hot like sexual, it's hot like your cells are heating up, or almost like they're vibrating so much faster because you're in the midst of something that was, you were one at one point. So I feel like that's probably what that fire is. It's you literally feel it when you're in their midst. So many of you know my my Facebook know me and my twin, kind of got together and kind of chilled for a little bit, and I enjoyed every moment. I found with the twinning, the fire was a feeling that was a little disconcerting. I also felt like being in the midst of my twin, everyone around us recognized the fire, the flame. And that's what I think the twinning phenomenon kind of doesn't speak to. And I think only twins, I haven't met, like I said, I only know two couples that most likely, one I know for sure is a twin. Another one I feel is a twinning scenario rather than a karmic mate. But I feel like once you twin and you sit amongst your twin, everyone feels it. I mean, everyone around us was recognizing the connection, and it was kinetically charging the environment. So everything around us was changing and morphing and co-creating along with us. Like if we say something and we were in mist, like, he likes to stare into your eyes. Big up to my twin flame. He likes to stare in your eyes. He's very intense like that. He's a lover of words, of life. Like I said, he is Florburn to the 10th power. Everything around us changed based on our frequency and us being in close proximity. People were able to recognize it from far and from close. That's what I found about being with your twin. It's not only a recognition of each other, it's the field around you kinetically getting charged because of the connecting with your twin. So let's get into the conversation of twinning. As I've begun the twinning process, many people were asking me questions. I got a lot of messages asking me questions, so I'm going to try to kind of speak to it. I'm reading comments as I go. One thing I did notice, someone talked about the electricity. One thing I noticed is when we kind of got together, like the electricity started to pulsate, literally like lights. There was a hallway light that burst when we came into the hallway together. I thought that was interesting. It could be chance. But I noticed that everywhere we went, I don't really verbally tell him about the twinning because I don't need to encourage him anymore than he has. So I found that when we first kind of physically came together, the electrical outlets were affected. And then we got pulsing of lights anywhere we sat, anywhere we were in a public arena. So I found that very interesting. I think kinetically, we were affecting the energy around us. I felt like anytime I would think, yes, telepathy is off the hook. I felt like I wouldn't say anything and he would just answer. So if I sat down and I wanted something and I didn't say it, like I just would come into my mind, he would respond as if I said it out loud. I found that very interesting. And people will ask, have you had this before? Remember, I was married. So it's not to say that with my ex, I didn't have this. It wasn't this, though. Not the telepathic, being with someone for long periods of time, people can generally, read you, read what you're, read you on, or you become telepathically connected via time with the same person over a long period of time. Okay. So this was a little different because, again, I didn't necessarily want to feel together the twin, but I felt like it was time because he kept coming into my midst and he was in my heart space. The only thing I found was difficult because I felt very guilty because I have another partnership that I had previous to this, which many of you know, which was a karmic relationship, but I'm very close to that person. So I found it very difficult and I felt guilty because now I'm with someone who I'm totally in total alignment with in every way. Like everything that I am, my twin is a perfect reflection of. So the things that I do well, he does well. The things that I desire are the things that he either emulates. I mean, he's not emulated, he actually expresses, or he's doing now. The family dynamics is so close that it's insane. I look so much like his family and like I'm part of his family that's a little creepy. That is a little creepy. I remind him, that's why I'm thinking the twinning, and that's why it's good for me to get a first bird's eye view of twinning from a personal point of view, because I found that the family dynamics is so close that I realized with twins, there's going to be a level of recognition within each family dynamics. The families are actually they actually have a connection to the twin. So, and as far as I know, usually when you get with your twin's family or your family have a connection to that being. It's almost like they're genetically connected to them as if they're family with the twin. So I found that very, very interesting because I've heard that before from one of the twin flames that I know personally is definitely a twin flame coupledom. And with them, I found it very interesting that both the family dynamics are very accepting, very loving, almost like they accepted the person on the initial meeting of the other twin. So whoever they were dating at the time, the twin, the other family was like, oh, I love them. Like everything about them, like they were incorporating them. This is the same with the twin flame here that I'm experiencing, is that the family dynamics, they're so accepting of me and so loving of me to the point where they're even they were pressuring him when we weren't together to hurry up and get me. And this is what I thought was quite beautiful because I had an experience. Remember, I had the mother-in-law from hell. I think many of you heard the story. If you've known Fleur Broom for a while, you've probably heard, many of you remember, I made a video about Munster-in-laws. I had the Munster-in-law from hell, and it was such a negative experience. I didn't really accept the fact that, a lot of times I was a little nervous meeting people's parents because of having such a traumatic experience with my exes, the Nazis' mother and my sister-in-law. They were from hell and they still are. And it was very difficult for me to want to engage with anyone's family because once you're sensitive like that and you've been abused or you've been traumatized, you almost hold that within your space. So I was very hesitant to ever meet my twin's family because I just it's almost like I thought maybe it was something about me. You take on some of that trauma too. Sometimes I felt like maybe it was something about me that would initiate some sort of like a opposition to me. So anyway, so I found this interesting with the twins because the twins that I know personally, the family dynamics is very healthy, meaning that both families recognize the twins as being the perfect reflection of the other. And the family dynamics is usually accepting. Usually sometimes the families recognize the twin before the twin actually acknowledges how much connected they are to the other person. One thing I say is when we got together, like I said, and I think many of you heard me say this before, I was very afraid. I keep it real. I don't really say anything. I was very afraid. That even sitting down with them, the nerves, just the heart, my palpitations, like it was insane. It was like fire in my body. And again, it wasn't related to being sexual. It was something deeper and more evolved than just a physical attraction. It's fire in your body. And again, I liken, that's why they call it a flame, because you actually feel hot in your body. And then, I was a little nervous being alone with him, because obviously this is somebody who's very like me, and I'm very passionate, my background. So I'm a little voracious in how I engage with males. I think only a male who's been with me knows this, and they're public about talking about that. But I'm pretty voracious with males. I'm very unapologetic, but this is a little different because my natural propensity to be that way is his natural propensity to be that way. And when coming in close proximity with each other, it was very difficult to be with someone who has that same engagement with the opposite sex. Okay, so it was hard for me. And for him, he's just big up to the twin. He's comfortable. He's very confident. He's unapologetic. He knows that I'm the one for him. He said it from when he first met me, and he's already made plans. It's a flirt run to 20th power. He's already made plans for our future, but I had to tell him to slow his roll, because he's a little controlling like me. I have control issues too, so he's an aspect of me that I'm seeing within myself. So I know what the twinning phenomenon is, and I've studied it for a while. So I had to make sure that I didn't want to verbally assault him because I'm controlling. So I don't like when males try to control me, because I'm a little controlling in myself. But I like aggressive males, more assertive males. Let me change my verbiage. And I will say this: whenever you come in contact with your physical, mental, and spiritual twin, it will cause anxiety, a strong amount of anxiety, and your body reacts to them almost like, so you have two magnets, right? So you have two magnets separated, and remember, positive and negative charge always attract to one another. What is interesting about my twin is I'm an O positive. Remember, I only mate with O's. Big up to all the OGs on here. You know how I am. I'm a Nazi at genetics. And I found it very interesting that my twin is an O negative, and I'm O positive. And remember, as an O positive female, I can carry a twin's. That's why I will only mate with males who I can have a healthy offspring with. It's just not, even if I don't want offspring, I would. But the fact of the matter is, I could carry an O negative child within my womb without getting a shot. Okay, let's just say that. So it's very interesting that he's an O negative and I'm an O positive. And the closer we got together is the pull started to happen. And that's when the anxiety comes, because you can feel like the further apart we were, it was cool. But the closer we got, you can feel the actual magnetic pull, and it gets frightening. Now, for him, he's a male. His disposition's different than me as a female. I tend to have more anxiety when something's pulling at me, something like that. With him, he's hands up. He just wants to go in for the ultimate merging. But for me, it was a little hard to do. I will say this: once you initiate any physical contact with your twin, there is a opening of portals that will come and show up, like environmentally. So I'm trying to keep this. This may be something I'll discuss a little more. He doesn't care if I discuss this. I asked him, so he said, "Go." This is that, like I said, is Flurbrun 3.20 thousand. He doesn't care that I discuss this. He's probably watching this right now. Big up to my twin flame. Once you get in physical interaction with them physically, and like I said, this is a day show. There's children here. I don't want to go into it. This is probably a Flurburn After Dark conversation. It actually changes the physical molecular field of the environment. So as soon as we came in that close proximity physically, there was lightning strikes, like all around. And you could hear it. It's, I just say that, and it was portals that opened. And literally, what happened is that, like I said, I'm going to keep it very PG-13 right now. This will probably be something I get a little more in depth in another in another private setting. I don't think it's appropriate because I have little people on here and I have young people. I don't like to discuss things like this unless it's Flirtable After Dark on a different wavelength. But what I will say is there was a change of color in the eye spectrum of light. So upon engaging with them physically, my eyesight changed and I started to get what I consider to be a funneling effect, which is interesting. That's never happened before. So I knew it was going to do something dynamically to my physical body per se, but as far as my eyesight, I didn't know that would occur. So I had some sort of like I had some sort of what is it called? Like a spiraling effect in my eyesight during physical engagement with the twin. And it changed the kinetic field of the environment, which caused lightning strikes just at the time we started to engage physically. And the more intense it got, the more the environment tended, I think that's a word, to change as well. Okay. Yes, we're close in age. I'm a little bit, I don't want to say anything else. Like I said, because I'm on public media, he doesn't care, but I do. And I don't necessarily want him, you know, a lot of you guys are wonderful super agents, super agent spies. So I have to make sure, I just want to protect his identity, you know, his family, because I don't think it's healthy. Because I decide to be on public media doesn't mean I should pull in someone who's living a totally different life than me and his family. So I keep that. Some of you already know if you from my, you know, Delgada's page, but other than that, I don't want to pull him into that. But I will say he's close to my age. He's close to my age. Similar family dynamics. I will say we're both Caribbean. Oh, I've got like a little thing here. We're both Caribbean. Oh, my computer shut down. Again, he's a negative Rus OG. He's an OG negative and I'm OG positive. We are both from similar signs. What else? Similar family dynamics. What I found is that as I go in his family dynamics, very similar. His family, the way that they migrated to the States, the way that his family is, as far as the things that they do in dynamics, he comes from all sisters in his family and I come from all brothers. Okay, so I found it very interesting that the twinning almost did like the opposite. So I have mostly all males as far as siblings in my family. He has mostly all females in his family. The way that his father showed up is a little different than the way my mother showed up. So we're having twinning, like literally like a reflection of each other that's a little opposite, but the same. Same family dynamics, but just an opposition, like opposite. So almost like when you're looking in a reflection of yourself and it's you, but you know, maybe this side looks a little differently than that side, but it's a mirroring of the opposite side. What else? We have a birthmark on the same leg. We have the same birthmark on the opposite. My birthmark is on my right back calf. Wait, yeah, my birthmark is on my right calf. His is on his left calf. I found that very interesting, the same birthmark. What else? His scent, his physical scent is similar to that which I've recognized from a child. When the first time I know this is going to get a little animalistic for those who can tolerate it, but when I was a little girl, there was a scent that I remembered from a little girl. I would have these dreams that I remember the scent. And it's very, unless you've had this before, it's like a sentient, you remember this scent. Everyone has this, like a dream. Some people liken it to ghosts or spirits. Sometimes when a spirit comes in a room, if it's a demon, they have a sulfur smell. There was a scent of the little girl that I remembered. I don't know where it came from, and I always remember the scent. And I didn't know to even speak about the scent until I smelled him the first time. It gets a little animalistic, but I keep it real. So the first time I met him, his scent was so, it was a scent I remembered. And the only way that I could describe it is like the first time I met him, you know, because he's like Florboon. He likes to come in your space. I'm very touchy-feely when I come to people. I like things like that. I'm very touchy, kissy, lovey. I'm like that. I could be very aggressive as a lover, but as like personally, I'm very touchy. And once he came into my personal space the first time I met him, I recognized his scent. And I recognized it from a little girl. So it was a scent that was already something I smelled. It wasn't a person who smelled like that. It was just a scent that was always with me as a little girl. I didn't know what it was, but I remember the scent. And the only way that I could recollect it in an overt way is the first time I smelled him. So I don't know if that makes sense, if that has to do with twinning, but I found that very interesting. That it actually was the reason why I kept talking to him, was because of the way he smelled. And we always get into pheromones. And I've made videos on pheromone harmonics, but his pheromones are so alluring to me that it literally puts me at comfort and ease when I smell him. Okay, even when his scent was lingering on me after, we chilled out, and then, he went and go about his business throughout his day, but his scent on me was so comforting that it made me happy. So that's very interesting. And again, I have to be very mindful to keep this, like I said, there are more things I want to discuss, but I probably shouldn't discuss this on this platform. And that's probably something I'll discuss more privately, because there are things on a physical level that I think are very in sync to why I know he definitely is my twin flame. Just things that are a little more intimate that I don't think are appropriate to this platform. And I hate to not give it to you because I want to tell you now, but I am appropriate with children, and we have young people. Like, we have young people as young as like 12 and 13 who do listen to this channel, because I'm a mother figure and I do take that very seriously. So I might share that, not trying to be ignorant. Not trying to be ignorant, but are you not in union? If not, how come? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. If I'm not in union, I just said that I'm in contact with my twin flame. Mine look at me like when. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'll say about twinning, and I can only, like I said, you never really heard me talk about twinning on a personal level, just what I kind of fielded together and gained. Flora manifest a true love. What I gained, and I personally think the fasting, the going and freeing my ancestors from South American ethereal prison, there was so many things that came in alignment with twinning. I think when I became more accepting of actually mating and acknowledging to mate with my twin is only after I did a couple things that I think it kind of cleared some shadows, actually unlocked some, ancestral codons that were released. That's why I ended up going to Brazil. When I did that, being on my own, genetic homeland, that also helped to unlock the, take away from some of the fear of that. Also, me and him shares a lot of the same genetics. Our families had migrated from same regions, which I find is very interesting. I'm trying to read the comments, sorry. Union, you and I on. Are we gonna meet, what? You'd have to get more, I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Hold on, I'm just reading. Okay, I'm just reading comments, I'm sorry. It just takes me a minute. Okay, we can get into earthquakes and so on. I don't want to get onto that because we're on twinning and you guys tend to get upset with me to stay on topic. So I'm trying to stay on topic so that the video will actually be on point this time. What I discussed before is I don't think I could ever give you a true information regarding twinning because it wasn't something that I experienced personally. I met my twin. I knew it. I knew that this person was a twin, but I totally was in denial about And I didn't want to. Let me say this again, because I think a lot of people are kind of weirded out by that. I did not want to merge with my twin at all. I felt vulnerable to that state of connection. I wasn't ready for twinning. I felt like my twin was too much of me. If you can go figure that, too much of me to want to engage with them. And now I'm coming from a different perspective of actually engaging with someone which I know is my twin. How I knew it was my twin, I just knew. My body reacted, the scent of the person, the synchronicities that would happen around us, the telepathy that was off the chart. That wasn't anything I could do with anyone else. And it wasn't like somebody, it wasn't, I didn't grow up with him my whole life, but he was always in close proximity of me. So that's another part of twinning, which I think I spoke about before, that I fielded out. Your twin is always somewhere in your same genre, in your same general environment, the things that you do. So your twin would always be somewhere where they're touchable by you. Just that maybe you, if you're not ready, you're not going to necessarily recognize it. And it as imbalanced or balanced as you are is how your twin shows up. So if you're imbalanced financially, your twin will show up super balanced financially. If you have, I know, remember I talked about my ex having a twin, because he's so shallow, and I told you how he obsessed with women that were just good looking. And I know his twin is somebody who's outside of what he would consider to be attractive. His twin came out in a way physically that he in his imbalanced state would not be attracted to, but everything about her was absolutely in balance with him, but not her physicality to him. Do you understand? So as balanced or imbalanced as you are, as your twin will show up. So the things that's why it's very frightening. And I think a lot of people have issues twinning is because a lot of times when you meet your twin, anything that's going on with you, shadows, imbalances, your twin has in a very opposite way. So it shows up as a shadow. Sometimes it'll show up in a way that will illuminate the things that are going on with you that you haven't acknowledged or resolved. So that's why a lot of twins do not or aren't able to recognize one another or even twin. I don't think everybody will twin. I will say that. I think twinning comes to those in this particular time at the beginning of a new cycle that have actually superseded a certain level of consciousness and frequency. I think you can only twin once you reach a certain pinnacle stage. And I think even though you meet your twin, you may not be ready because you have to go to a certain stage where it's allotted, where it's allowed. So I felt like once I got to a certain stage of evolution, because I wasn't, I thought I was the bomb.com. I thought I did all the work. Hold on, let me see if I can read your comments. I have to put it on the screen, so give me a minute. Okay, so I can read I'm just reading your comments on this because I can read it brighter on the screen. Hold on. You think you are ready, then more comes to the surface. Yes, I found that to be interesting because as much as I felt, wait, what happened? Who put, make sure you don't put people on timeout that are just talking. Be careful with that. I've got super admins on here. A lot of the people who come on this feed, let me just state this, a lot of people who come on this timeline are usually part of this platform for so long. Everybody's family. We've got uncles, aunties, grandmothers, sons, daughters, children, grandchildren. Everybody's on here. So, be mindful before kind of timing them out. Read the whole comment before. Most people are very, unless they're sex bots or straight up like archons. Or hostile reptilians who come on here trying to cause riff. Yeah, Warrior Empire has been here for a long time. Hold on. Let me give you some superpowers, Warrior. Okay, there you go. I gave you superpowers, Warrior Empire. He's been on here a long time. He was on the show for a while before. Anyway, so let me not lose my train of thought, okay? Because I'm trying to, there you got superpowers. What else should I answer about this? The things that I feel like you definitely need to know, they're so personable about twinning that I vetted out. Because, my thing is, if I was going to twin, I told you, once I came back from South America, I decided I wanted to twin. I was doing it previously, but I was afraid of it. And once I actually physically came in contact in a more intimate way with my twin, I can vet out that twin flames is actually a real phenomenon. I think some people think it isn't, but I know now it is. Because I'm not one to fall in, propaganda, sensitivities, or I'm not really pushed for, a lot of times I don't really, I'm not really affected by super propaganda of something like a phenomenon. I'll vet it out. I always vet everything out. And that's wonderful about being a Sag. Sages do that naturally, but I'm 3 of a Sag. So I'm 3 times a Sag, so I vet out everything. So I will say this, soulmates are beautiful. I don't want to take away from anything else. Soulmates are beautiful. Karmic mates are beautiful. Everybody's beautiful because you always learn. You always learn. So there isn't any relationship that I personally now know is negative. I think everything is an evolutionary process. Every relationship that we get in is something that allows us to grow, see aspects of ourselves that we need to deal with. A lot of times we sign on to relationships previous to this incarnation to resolve issues or karma that we were unable to do in a previous life or previous lifetimes. So every relationship is relative. So I never want to take away from someone being in a relationship. What's demon? A lot of times the yogis say the best way to create evolution within your spirituality and your consciousness is to have a bad relationship. And if that isn't true, woo, the best lessons I've ever learned was from the Nazi. The Nazi was the most chaotic, cruel, tragic person, but I didn't love myself. And I've told you that 50 million times. I didn't have love for myself, because you cannot love yourself and have a being mistreat you, be dishonoring, not respect you. He loved me, but he was so, and he still does, but he's so chaotic in the world that he came from, that his way of showing love was not in sync with the way that I deserved or I should have treated myself. So once we became in disharmony, it was because I started to love myself. And that was really after my girls were born, to be honest. So my initiator into higher forms of self-love came from me having children. Sometimes it doesn't happen for mothers. Sometimes it makes it worse. But for me, because I love children so much and I'm very protective of animals and children, for me, having children was my initiating into higher forms of love. And I'm grateful for that. So I was married for 6 years before I had children with him. And when I had my first and then my second, he wasn't even something I would even deal with. It wasn't somebody I would even have around me. It wasn't, as a mother, it wouldn't be somebody I would choose to be even in, the close proximity of me and my family dynamics. So it was my initiator. Okay, so I just want to say that I never want to sit here like I'm high and holy, that I'm this perfect person. I did not love myself, and it took a Nazi boot camp. Like Nazi boot camp, like, get up, or you're fat ass, excuse me, like, get up, you know what I mean? Somebody who was bombarding me with negativity so much, it was like, either you're gonna die or you're gonna rise to the level. And it was like, every day you're trying to do those push-ups, and one day you're like, I just want this MNF to stop yelling. And then you start doing push-ups, and then you start doing everything on yourself, you know what I mean? And then to the point where you don't need that banter in your ear to start leveling you up. So I'm grateful to him. He was the devil. That was the initiation I needed and required in order to come to higher fields of consciousness. Not everybody needs that. I did. So once he did that, I leveled up. And once I leveled up, that relationship wasn't even in sync with me anymore. And he's still at that same level. He hasn't grown. So it actually is a good way to see that, I did exactly what was necessary, and I've superseded my level of growth, of spiritual growth, ever since then. So it's beautiful. So I'm just saying, a lot of times for anyone who's on here who's experiencing some of the bouts of your conscious evolution, it won't always show up pretty. Okay. If you would have seen what Florban looked like periodically at the time, when I was going through that leveling up, it wouldn't have looked pretty. It would have looked chaotic, and you would have questioned even me. You'd be like, "Ooh, what's up with her?" You know what I mean? What's up with her? Something's up with her. So, but he wasn't for me, but he was for me at that time. So everything is for a reason and a season, and I'm past that point. But I see it for what it is. So if you're going through that right now, if you're going through, Erin says, what are your thoughts on separation? What kind of separation? What kind of separation? Who asked that question? Oh, twin flame separation? I think it's just a matter, I didn't want to be with my twin flame. It's because I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Twin flame separation is a negative. You when it's time for you, some of you won't be with your twin flame. I realize that not everybody's meant to be with their twin flame at this time, because you have to go through so many layers of healing and of leveling up that it may not be in this lifetime, and it's okay. Because I'm telling you, I saw my twin flame, I smelled them, I recognized them, I ran. I don't want to be a party to that. I was like, oh heck no, you're not coming here to control my heart space and cause me to be called all kinds of vulnerable. I didn't even want that, because I remember why I didn't want it is because I had been traumatized, and I didn't realize that the trauma was still affecting me until my twin showed up. And then when I acknowledged it was a twin, and then I started to do things to level up in my own personal dynamics of my life, my health, my spirit, my mind, my body, everything. Then I started to realize that part of the reason why I was not able to merge with my twin is because I was still traumatized and hadn't dealt with levels of trauma from the previous Nazi that I wasn't realizing or acknowledging, thinking I was past that. I wasn't past it. So the fasting helped, traveling helped, acknowledgement helped, purging helped. Everything I had to do. There's so much layers of healing that is required living in this dirty matrix. The matrix is dirty. It's like you being out in the field of war all the time. You got dirt, blood, tears, sweat, funk, everything. You got devils connected to you, following you, trying to throw grenades at you. That's what the matrix feels like. So can you just imagine that all of us are going through that kind of tyranny? Got little people. All of us are going through that tyranny every day, all day, for almost your whole life here. You want cherries? I have cherry robbers. I got a little one robbing my cherries right now. Okay. And just imagine you're going through that all the time. And then you're going to say, oh my God, here's a pretty, beautiful twin flame. Somebody wants to mate with you. You haven't showered in like 20 weeks. You've got blood on you. You know what I'm saying? That's how it feels when a twin flame shows up. When you're in the midst of war, you don't want to have sex with them. You don't even want to touch it. You don't want anyone touching you. You're still in the battle. That's what twinning feels like when you're in the midst of growing, changing, morphing. It's just, it almost seems like something that's unreal and almost like a mirage. So a lot of us won't twin because we still are going through the leveling up required in order to feel with that kind of perfected relationship that will end up totally healing you. But it may not be in this lifetime. I'm just saying. And I think a lot of times no one says that. I don't know. I don't listen to all the twin flame speakers or lectures or anything like that. But I know from my own personal experience, the battle's rough. And twinning, a lot of times people will settle for a karmic relationship rather than a twin, because a twin will refract light back at you that you're unwilling to see, or unwilling to heal, or unable to, because you're not even at that point in reference point to even getting to that point where you can allow for that kind of connectivity. Okay, so don't get upset if you're not meeting your twin or it's not able to be that way. There's levels, and even with coming in contact with my twin, the vulnerability, the heart palpitations, the literally I felt like I was being torn apart, but at the same time built, like, it literally feels, I'm going to give you the actual description of how I felt. Being in his midst makes me feel like all my walls are falling down. That's how I feel when I'm with him. I feel like every wall that I built up around me is falling down. I feel like the walls around me are literally concaving down. And I have to close my eyes sometimes when I'm with him and just take a deep breath and realize that I'm always in a healthy state of being. I'm fine. This is free will choice. I'm making a choice to be here in his midst. I know that there isn't anything that can occur that I am not, that isn't for my greatest and highest good. I have to literally say that to myself. That's how it feels. And the walls falling down aren't negative, but remember, we build walls up to protect ourselves. So you built the Belgian walls around you. You built the Chinese wall around you to protect you from the crazy chaos that this mofo matrix is giving to us. So a lot of times those walls are the same things protecting us that we think are protecting us, are the same things that keep things that are positive out of our presence. So when a wall is falling down, you feel vulnerable for attack. So you're thinking to yourself, I'm like, oh, you know, in my mind, I was like, maybe this isn't a twin flame. No, this isn't a twin. I'm saying this to myself. And, you know, he's sitting there watching me enamored. He's okay to feel that. And in his life, okay, so let me talk about a little bit of his life without putting too much of his personal business out there. The same things that I underwent in my own personal life, my twin is mirrored. So he had a Nazi in his life. He felt unworthy in his own relationships in the past, a previous relationship. He felt his self-esteem get challenged because he felt he wasn't good enough. His own challenges as being a parent also was challenged and threatened. So everything that I underwent, my twin was undergoing almost at the exact same time. Just I'm a little more leveled up, so his was maybe his was more delayed. So his came a little later than mine. Mine, I preempted him because I leveled up a little quicker in my own world based in, you know, coming from this community. Okay, so he mirrored me in that way. My twin wasn't ready. Okay, someone said their twin wasn't ready, and now I'm with someone else and had a baby. My life is happy and harmonious. We still talk. That's what I'm saying. Twinnings is not always the end all be all. There's only going to be a few twins, and twins are meant to reverberate throughout timelines and space to cause a rippling effect that will heal the planet. The more twinning that occurs is more healing. It's not necessary for everybody to twin, but when a twin levels up and they merge together, they cause a healing effect, and it goes throughout different timelines. So that's where you're getting a lot of these wonderful residuals of twinning happening, where pedophiles are being kicked off the planet or busted. You got all these billionaire bastards who are raping children or dying in helicopter crashes. They're being, you know, arrested and made accountable for their dastardly deeds. You got pedophiles now that are cops and governmental officials that are getting their spots blown, getting arrested. Some are getting murdered. So a lot of this has to do not only with twinning, but it has to do with the kinetic energy and healing that comes with people twinning. So twinnings will heal because it's the ultimate union that causes unity consciousness to reverberate throughout the different timelines and frequencies to allot for healing on the planet. Okay, so it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. It's my take on it. So it's not going to be everybody. Everyone's feeling it because it is plausible for a lot of people to do it rather than before. But it isn't for everyone. And like I said, it wasn't something I wanted. And physically, it changes you. There isn't anybody I want to be with. I had a mate before, which I feel was more of a karmic mate, like a beautiful mate. And many of you know him before. I love him. I still love him. And there's a little guilt with that. So sometimes that's what happens with twinning, is that you meet a twin at a time when you have a love, or you're in a relationship with someone else, or they're in a relationship with someone else. And that twin has to, resolve that karmic debt. So some relationships are karmic because that is the lesson. That person is their teacher at that point, and that is the karmic lesson they have to go through. They can't twin until they resolve some issues from past lives, from their youth, from their present day being. They have to go through these. So they have to pass these lessons in order to twin. So if they're in karmic relationships, that's what is necessary to level them up. You can't really, you don't want to mess with that either, because that's a karmic debt. Okay, so let them resolve themselves karmically. with a relation. And karmic doesn't mean negative. Some people's karmic debt is karmic relationships has to do with just maybe building more self-esteem. Sometimes trusting in love, you know. Sometimes it's about learning to build, to engage with integrity in relationships, or to learn to do things in certain ways. Karmic relationships aren't as tragic. You know, some people make it seem like, oh, karmic relationships are devilish. No, I had a Nazi camp because that's what I needed to level up. Okay. That's way I had to level up. Karmic relationships are not always that extreme, okay? They just may be the little things you need to learn, things that need to be resolved. You know, sometimes in a past life, they were you, you were them. So you're just going through like this, you know, this turn of fate in order to see from a different angle and point of view. That's all it is. It's not negative. So I don't want to make it seem like everybody's going through a karmic relationship. It's negative. It isn't the case. Everything's positive. Every relationship you will ever have will bring something positive. How you see it is how you perceive it is how it will express itself in your life. That's it. So, you know, twin flames is, okay, I like want to do another twin flames. I can. And I can do it. I'm going to try to do a twin flame, like if I discuss it, I'll be more intimate, but I'll have it on a private platform. Probably I'll do it on a Thursday show when it's private, because again, this platform isn't appropriate to talk about, because there are things obviously that I want to tell you that have to do with what happens to you physically when you're sexually involved with your twin, which I've obviously experienced. And it's magical. Like I said, I saw spirals in my eyes, engaging with my twin. And I've never experienced that. Yeah, someone could say, oh, maybe it's just a long time. Maybe they just blew your mind. No, it's something different. It had to do with when you're that close with someone and you're physically, like, remember, the magnet is like this. It's like positive and negative, and all of a sudden comes close. It's like, bam! It causes some sort of kinetic reaction with your body, and you start to see differently. And like I said, we opened portals because as soon as we got that close and intimate proximity, you know, lightning started to hit. And, you know, it's almost like Highlander. Yeah, it was like Highlander. And afterwards, you know, I had a dream about like an energy being that came in front of me and shapeshifted. So there was a portal opened, which allowed for beings to come through. I think it was a being that I released. I don't know if it was positive being, but I released a being because that night I went to sleep. There was some energy being that kind of decloaked itself in front of me. And it wouldn't leave me alone. So I'm assuming I opened a portal. So, you know, your experience was awkward. Can soulmates heal the planet? Everyone can heal the planet. Yeah, you don't need to mate with someone to heal the planet. I don't want to make it seem like for those who aren't twinning, who aren't in relationships, you just loving yourself heals the planet. You being the change you want to see in the world is healing the planet. I'm speaking specifically about twin flames because now I'm engaging with the twin flame. Love heals the planet. It does. And I haven't felt like I have an infinite love for this being that is something beyond anything space and time. You can feel it, you can smell it, you can taste it. It's something different. It's a kinetic energy that I have never experienced. And I'm a woman of a certain age. I haven't had a lot of mates, okay? So I will say that. Hey, Fidgy girl. But it is something that I will say when you experience, you recognize it. There isn't anything that I can match it with. And I know now that the twinning phenomenon is truly that it exists. It may not exist for everyone. I think a lot of people may mistaken certain people as twins, but the twin has a genetic coding within inside of you that you feel. It's a heat. And now I know why it's called twin flames. You feel hot, and it's not hot like in your lower chakras. I'm not talking about like, whoo, I want to get down and dirty with them. No, it's a heat. It's like your codon's expressing itself. It's like heating up, and you feel it like open, breaking open. You can feel it in your body, and it makes your heart palpitate. It gives you heart palpitations. With him, I will say with him, like he said, he shakes when he's with me. You know, like I notice like when he goes to touch my hand or he touches my hair or he comes close to me, he shakes. Like he gets shivers, and it's beautiful, but he shakes. He said he doesn't do that. He feels like he likes it. So as I say, a male's take of this, I would love to hear a male's take of this. Like when he kisses my neck or he touches my hair or he holds my hand, he shakes. He said, I make his body react in a way it's never been before. And I know he's telling the truth because it's not something anybody could say. You know what I mean? He doesn't, like I said, I don't tell him about twinning. And he's listening to this, so he knows what I'm talking about now. I don't hide it from him. But, you know, his body reacts in a way that isn't what he normally is. He's a man of a certain age. He, you know, he knows what he experiences and he loves beautiful women. So I'm not a woman that's like, you know what I mean? I'm not superseding. He's had beautiful women in his life. It's not something that's, you know, I'm okay. You know what I mean? So it's not like that. Like he's nervous to that point because we've known each other for a while now, but he shakes. And I know that it's because inside of him, it's the same thing. Like I'm feeling the heart palpitations, but he's feeling it with like his hands tremoring, or like even when he touches me, like he feels like what did he say? He feels like he's losing control, but he wants to. Okay, that's different for him. So he feels like he's losing control when he's with me, but he wants to. Like he wants to fold inside. Let me watch my words. He wants to fold within me. Okay, that's how he feels. That's how he expresses it. So it's something that both of us are feeling at the same time. And it's not like we're young people and we don't know any better. It's not like we're, you know what I mean? I want to put that out there. We're not on drugs. He's not a drug addict. You know, he's not an alcoholic. You know what I mean? He's healthy in a way and he shows up in the world like I do. Okay, so, you know, we're talking about two semi-healthy people. I say semi because nobody's truly healthy, but we're showing up as truly two healthy people. But I have the verbiage for what he's experiencing. He doesn't. So it's nice to watch him. It's nice to watch him experience what I know is happening. And it solidifies for me. So that's why sometimes I don't like to disclose too much to somebody I'm personally involved with, because it takes away from you leading them or building the, you know, giving them the actual, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to give him too much because then he can just like, you know, pretenders will act and pretend. I want it to be authentic. So I'm not going to give him like, oh, we're twin flames. And I have never told him that. He's not from this world. I'm not going to say, oh, I think we're twin flames. I don't do that. I don't do that. When somebody I'm engaging with, a lot of times I like to engage with males that are outside of this specific platform. You know, but they're spiritual. They're just not into this social media. They don't have the verbiage that we utilize. It's a little different. Okay, so I find more authenticity with relationships when it comes to that. So you told yours, Aaron. So big up to all the twin flames who are experiencing the twinning. For those who are actually getting the emotional connection to them telepathically, you're hearing from your twins. A lot of times, you know, like I said, just a kiss from your twin can just set you off. Big up to all the ones who are running away from your twins. like I was running, like literally. And he asked me, and you know, I love how honest, because my twin is very much like Flurburn, very honest. So he asked me, he said, how come you always running away from me? Why when I know this, I'll give you his conversation. Why, when I know that you're for me, do you run away from me? He's like, I don't understand. He was like, I know, and you know, so why? And I just told him, I said, you know, I don't know that I want that kind of emotional vulnerability. I was honest with him. I don't know that, and I tell him now, I don't know that I want that kind of emotional vulnerability. I don't know that I'm ready for that. I may not be mature enough for that. And I keep it real. You know, I don't know that I'm that kind of person. I'm engaging with it because now I've leveled up to where I can accept that kind of purity in our love. But it's just physically, it makes you feel like I said, your walls are falling apart. And even though those walls may not be needed anymore, those are the walls that kept me safe. Those are the walls that I built every time I was traumatized or hurt. Those are the walls that, in my mind, were building a fort around me that would disallow anything that was harmful or hurtful to myself and my family dynamics to keep me safe. So basically, you're coming in my life and these walls are falling apart. So I feel like I'm leaving myself susceptible to all kinds of infiltration. But then in itself, I realized that those walls weren't necessary, because once I built myself up, once I once I leveled up, I am the wall. So whatever, I am the strength. You know what I mean? I was fortifying something outside of myself to protect myself, but at the end of the day, by doing the very things that I was doing to level myself up physically, mindfully, spiritually, I am the protection. I am the shield. This is the shield. You know what I mean? Me just being who I am energetically, I am the shield. It isn't necessary for me to have all these artificial walls around me to give me a false sense of protection, because really at the end of the day, I still was getting infiltration. And the more you have walls up, the more people sometimes want to climb it just to see what's on the other side. So that in itself, I think I learned, and I express it. So I just, want to state that. So I want to say, for anyone who's twinning, if me sharing the vulnerability of being a twin and twinning with someone, the amazement of it, he's beautiful. I feel a connection to him that's beyond love. It's beyond love. There's no word that can express how I feel about this person. It's not how I feel about them. It's how I feel within myself when they're in my presence. So it isn't even a artificial sense of love. It's like a kinetic love that's beyond this. Like if he was with one leg, I'd love him. I care for him. I would feel exactly the same way. If he lost his eyesight, I wouldn't dislike him. If he changed his physical, I would still feel the same way. That's how deep it is. I know this. I just know. So it's beyond that. Like even with me, I'm not a perfected being. You know what I mean? I'm a thickums. Big up to all the thickums in the house. I'm a mother. I'm a regular type of person. I always tell people I'm just a mommy from Mount Vernon, New York, who's been a contactee with other beings for a long period of time. There isn't anything super special about me. The only thing that makes me special is that I happen to accept the basicness of who I am. There isn't anything. I don't come to you artificially. I don't have to come with you a face full of makeup or, dolled up. I like my hat though. You like my dragon hat? I come to you pretty clean, and that comes with a sense of confidence in self and being okay with self. So, I'm a regular person. So in the same thing, I'm just grateful to be able to share this journey with you and share things that I've learned. Because I think as a young girl, a lot of times the millennials, let me just state this, the millennials trump us, some of us more seasonistas, because they trump us in age as far as being more ancient, because chronological age isn't always what it appears. Okay, so I may seem more seasoned in this perimeters of this aspect of the matrix, but a lot of our millennials trump us as far as like age, excuse me. Trump us as far as age, as far as chronological age, spirit-wise or soul-wise, okay? Depending if they have spirit or soul. Not all beings are real. There's a lot of empty seaters. And I already told you that I think the majority of people on this planet aren't real. I think they're holographs. And the only way you find out if they're holographs is if they keep looping. Holographic people tend to loop. They're in a program that's only within a short perimeter of short cylindrical programming. So if you're around a holograph, you'll notice that they do the same things over and over. They perpetually repeat the same cycle. So if they're always doing the same thing and they aren't learning from it, I always think they're a program, because they can't. They're capped. So I think there's a lot of holographic people that aren't real. I think there's only very few souls on this planet. I don't even know that majority of people, obviously, I know that there's a lot of people that aren't human. And there's a lot more non-human beings that are entering into our peripheral. So, now at least before a couple of years ago, maybe like 15 years ago, I would say that you'd meet more humans than not. Now I can't say that because, I'm seeing everybody's eyes shapeshift, including ourselves. I'm not taking myself out of the equation. Let me state this. So you're starting to see more people shapeshift into others. Even if they didn't know it, some know it. Don't let them fool you. They knew who they were. So there's a lot of different types of beings we're engaging with. So what makes it nice is that there's a limited amount of interaction with human beings that will be unbalanced. So you'll know human beings. I don't want to get too much into this because we're going to keep on the twinning. But, you know, like twin flames, I'm saying, watch for the cues of your twin. If it's really your twin, they've always been in your same peripheral. They've been in your same genres. So like I said in the previous video, if you're a twin and it's your twin, they're always in reachable status. Okay, so you can't have a twin that's outside of your reachable. And usually we get testers for our twins. So we already have the frequency that they're on. So if let's say your twin is Jamaican, right, West Indian, your twin, you will be around a whole community of Jamaican people. You'll be attracted to Jamaican food. You'll actually have people in your family that are married to a whole bunch of Jamaican people in your family. This is what I'm saying. The genre will show up, so will be touchable to you. The field of who they are shows up as testers, so you get little bits and pieces of them previous to them even coming. So it's like you're getting like pre-qualified people to come and bring in that field of that twin until you level up to the point where you actually meet them. So you're being prepared for your twin before you meet them. I just use Jamaican as an example. So you're always in a genre, or you live in a part of a city where there's a whole bunch of Jamaican people. It's always the case. I've seen this in every single time, even in people that I know aren't twins that are actually leveling up to possibly twinning. They always have that twin frequency. Let's say, you know, you don't know, like there was a guy I knew who was from, where was he from? El Salvador. His thing was like Russian people, and he had his thing for Russian women, but it was always Russians around him. It was weird, and I noticed it now because when, you know, he's moved a distance from me, so we don't talk as much. But I even knew it, and like he would always be somewhere where Russian neighborhoods. It was weird, and you would think to yourself, well, why would an El Salvadoran a Russian? That's what I'm saying. It was so odd that it was on point. Because it was already in his field. Like his stepmother was Russian. You could just say, oh, well, he's attractive because his stepmother. No, but it's all relative. It's all relevant. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that John was showing up his entire life, preparing him to meet his twin. So I feel like his twin is going to be in that genre. Okay, or basketball. I told you, like, I know one person who I know are twins. One was like the basketball's league owner's daughter. So her father was like a great player back in the days. He was a league owner. She was always around basketball players. But where was her twin? Her twin was a basketball player. Okay. So, but her twin was always in the same genre as she had grown up. So when it was leveling her up, because she was always at, you know, basketball practice, she was always around, you know, people who like basketball. She played basketball herself. So she was always in the genre of that particular genre of twin. And then when the twin shows up, he's already in the field. So as she's leveling up, and she's beyond anything, like she's healthy. I mean, she was to the point where she superseded me in certain conscious levels way before I did. So she was able to field with her twin previous to me. Okay, so I think, you know, military, like, yeah, like military, some people, oh, fix my tank top, sorry. Thank you. I'll cover up. So things like that. So just, if you are in twinning vibration, just make sure, thank you, Vivian, because I can't see. You will always be in that field. That's another twinning thing. Astrologically, I think Pitt, what's his name? Digital Pit Boss? You guys know his name. What's his name? He calls himself the flight boss. He's hilarious. He always does woo-hoo. He's like the super astrologer. He calls himself what is his name? You guys know him. Dolo. Dolo? Is that his name? Dolo? Thank you, high frequency vibration. Dolo. Flight boss, right? He just made a video. This is crazy because he just made a video about how to find out if someone's your twin flame. And I found it. Listen, I usually, Dolo, the pilot. Yes, he's amazing. So the flight boss. So he just made a video. Now, if you haven't got a chance to check this out, he's a triple fire sign too. Only a triple. See, these triple fire signs, we vet things out. The fire signs are showing up. So what I found is, if you haven't got a chance to see his latest video, I don't know if it's a more current video or older one because it was recommended. It's interesting as I'm twinning. the night after I've twins in a physical way. I see his video. But what's interesting with him, he said he was giving some astrological advice of how to figure out your twin. And what he was saying is exactly what I said before, except he said they're always going to be like, there are certain, they're going to be in a certain, he said like the 7th house and something. And I don't want to do it verbatim because I'll botch it up. But if you can watch this video, it's very, very good. I found it to be very, very, very on point. And he said it in a different way. That's why I know it's true. And he's getting intel from, because I don't have the only one who has information on twins. There's a lot of different people who do, but they all have a different way that they express it. So he said that they show up in ways that match where you come from or what you do. So they may show up in your job, you know what I mean? Because that's where you feel more comfortable. Or they'll show up in your work, in your, you know, they'll come up to your family. What I found out that was true about him is that my twin would always be in my family dynamics. One thing, and many of you who know me for many years, who come from Mount Vernon, big up to our homies from Mount Vernon. I grew up in Mount Vernon, New York, which is a very small town. I've never dated anybody outside of my family dynamics. When I see family dynamics, I haven't had a lot of mates, which most of you know. I was married for a long time. But, oh, there it goes. Jessica said it. North node in Cancer, 7th house, South node Cap for your first twin moon, Cancer, Sun, Capricorn. That's just one aspect, and I met him at my job. Okay, so Jessica, if you get a chance, thank you, Jessica. Jessica just noted how it came about. You must watch that video. I thought it was so amazing. And there's a lot of other people who talk about the twins, but I found he was saying exactly what I said in a totally different way. And that's how I know it was totally coming from a divine spectrum of light. But your twin will show up like my twin shows up only in my family dynamics. It will only show up in where my friends or my family are. So I'm very personable. As much as I speak to people from all over, I would only mate with people I personally come from my little neck of the woods because I grew up in a small town. So I've only dated, I didn't really date, but I only liked boys at the time, or men that were from my neighborhood or who knew my family. So this is what's crazy about it. I only like men that are from my neighborhoods or close neighborhoods or within my family dynamics. Like they're around my family, though. They live in my family neighborhood. It's interesting because with my twin, that's exactly how it showed up. He had to show up in that way. That's how I knew he was my twin. That's how I solidified that he's my twin, because I don't like, I'm one of the people that won't date somebody outside of what I know. It's just what I've just grown up like that. I like men I've known my whole life. I love males that are part of family dynamics that, you know, come from, you know, vetted out situations. Hold on. Okay. Your twin showed up around all of our childhood friends. See that, Vanessa? Listen, please check out Pit Boss's video, because he gives you astrological clues into how they find them. So if you do your astrology and you check it out, and there's a lot of people who talk about twin flames, but I feel like I like to take information which I know people have actually vetted out. I think some people, you know, I'm not a fan of people who channel too much or do things like that. I like people who actually vet things out by experience. Maybe because I'm a little more seasoned. So I really think, you know, it's just like someone who reads books about things all the time. You can read books from third parties and gain information from it, but I always feel like you should get all aspects of information before you actually come to a conclusion. So I feel like you can study something, but in research, we always have to confirm it through experimentation. So I will always get an idea if something's true, but I couldn't really tell you about twinning until I actually twinned. And even now, as I talk about twinning, like I can feel him watching this video. I can actually sense that he's going to text me. I can actually I felt his anxiety, like when I didn't call back, because sometimes, especially when I'm really busy, I'm like the worst person. I try to call everybody back on time, but sometimes I don't want to check my cell phone because I'm anti-cell phone sometimes. Sometimes I feel like the cell phone is AI trying to keep me trapped. So I have a love-hate with my cell phone. Um, I really do. So I don't like to keep my cell phone on me because I don't want people to have control over my ebbs and flows. You know, I just feel like that sometimes. Been feeling my twin's anxiety a lot. You can feel your twin. Your twin will come in and out based on you, but the more balanced you are in your life and the more you accept who you are. See, I've met people who've met their twins. I actually have. And I know that they're in balance. They may not know they're in balance, and I'm not here to show and illuminate people's flaws. That's just not something I do. The only time you see me illuminate someone's flaws is if they're coming for me. If someone keeps coming at me and poking me like a bear, then I will, you know, like a classic Sagittarius, I will release the Kraken on them verbally, and then they see, you know, it's terrible. I've gauged myself. Because remember, I'm a triple Sag, but I'm very, very appropriate. But when someone pokes me too much and it's almost like they want me to release the Kraken of the truth. Once they do it once too many times, I'll release the truth about things. And there's a lot of people who are very unaware of who they are. They are. You know, they'll sit there and say, oh, I'm illuminated. Oh, I'm so spiritually sound. You know, I do 50 million meditations. I watch videos all day. I separate myself from everyone because I'm clean and clear. No, it doesn't mean you're illuminated. I told you, I thought I was the bomb.com until I did a water fast and I realized there was a whole other side of things that needed to be revealed that, you know, didn't come up until later. So, you know, I think there's a lot of people who are still very unaware. You have to know yourself. And when you know yourself the best, when you're very self-aware, I'm talking about shadows and everything. There's shadows. There's things about me that I just realize now and I'm cool with. I'm just like, okay, that's a shadow. I'm incorporated because that's an aspect of myself. There's no reason to get rid of it or to purge it because it's an aspect that was created for, you know, certain moments. So I'm gonna put it in the archives, accept it, realize it, and keep it moving. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of people who are heightened in non-self-awareness. I've been around them. They act as if they've been resolved with things, and by the very projections that they putting out there as propaganda, the very things that they're still troubled with or are challenged with. So, you know, realize your shadows and sit with your shadows. If you have people around you that are coming around that you don't like, that's a shadow. It's showing you aspects of yourself. If you have people that come around that are basically, you know, narcissist or they're mean to other people or they're, you know, have addictions, that's you. That's an aspect of you showing up to be resolved. You know what I mean? So stop talking about people outside of yourself, because if everything outside of yourself is what you deem to be negative, that's a mirroring effect. That's a projection that's coming up in your field for you to resolve. That's a need for you to look within, like, hey, why do I have a whole bunch of people of the same type of dynamics? Why do I have a whole bunch of people who like to take advantage of people? Oh, maybe I take advantage of people and I just think I'm a better version of it. So I don't even acknowledge it because I'm in a denial about the aspect of myself. That's a lot of, you know, House of Mirrors. Yeah, exactly. Right, Jessica? It happens. It's happened to me. It's happened to me. I have, my gosh. Before that water fast, you know, I can hang around a lot of people. And there's things, and you get a lot of mirroring as a mother. As a parent, you get that a little bit more. Children will be great reflections of you, which I love. Children are beautiful. That I say is amazing. Like my little ones, they can refract light back to me quicker than any other karmic mate. So I'm humbled by that. So a lot of times I'll learn quicker from my children, showing aspects of my shadow that maybe I don't even notice, you know, because it'll come up in a different way. But it's necessary for you to acknowledge your shadows and don't take on other things that aren't yours. I'm not saying that either. You know, there are people outside of you that are just chaotic. I'm not saying that, but if you're getting a perpetual cycle of people that are always coming around you, the same type of personalities, that's you. That's all you. So if you're getting a whole bunch of a-holes around you all the time, you most likely are like that and you don't realize it. And if you have a problem getting along with other people outside of yourself to the point where you have to isolate yourself all the time, that's because you don't want to acknowledge your shadow. You have a problem. You know, people won't tell you that. Maybe a therapist will, but you'll have to pay your therapist $100 an hour to get that out of him or her. But if you have a problem being around people, just generally, you have to resolve yourself. Any healthy person can be around anyone. without any problems, without taking on their personalities, without taking on their frequencies. A healthy person can be around different people without being triggered all the time. If you're being triggered all the time by people outside of yourself, and it's the same type of people around you in the same emotional state, that's an aspect of you that you're in denial about. So you isolate yourself so you don't get a mirroring effect. That's not healthy. That's a mirror. You need to look in yourself in the mirror. Do a Michael Jackson, looking at the man in the mirror, okay? So one way to nicely see if you're healthy is if you could be around people. And if you're around people that are loving, caring, doting, that's saying that your frequency is healthy. If every time you take yourself out of isolation, you're getting devils, you might want to reflect. You might want to reflect on what's going on with you that you're unwilling to look at. Okay, so isolation isn't healthy. That's a way of hiding yourself from the reality of who you truly are. Okay, when you're really healthy, you can be around anybody, anybody, and then that could trigger you. I love people watching. You know, even when I was around Paula's not like that. You know, I could be around a lot of people. Paula's not like that. But, you know, she felt it interesting that I could just sit and talk to anybody in any way. And I wasn't trying to protect myself or anything like that. I keep it real. But that's my personality. And there isn't anything I'm truly afraid of. So I'm okay with being honest about who I am, being unapologetic about who I am. I talk to everybody, white, green, black, in between. I actually enjoy meeting different people from different backgrounds and complexions. It actually drives me. So, you know, like I said, if you having issues with yourself and being around people, or if you're finding yourself being around, not wanting to be around your same complexion or your same sex, you have some work to do. Okay, because you should actually be more comfortable with people who are more in your own spectrum of light. So if you're having problems with women and you're a woman, you have a lot of shadows. You have to resolve maybe mother issues that are non-resolved, issues with trauma, maybe being traumatized from a child, from being a female, or being judged. You have to resolve those, because a healthy woman could be around women healthily. Healthy man could be around other men healthily. And if you're healthy, when you go out in the world, you will meet more of you. Okay, so when I go out, I meet the most amazing people. I meet fractions of light that reflect what I already have inside. Okay, so that's all. You know, it's what about issues with men? Mother is first. And I know that men don't like when I say this, but mother details, and that's a Freudian theory too, which I do acknowledge. We date our mothers. The first person in your life is your mother, unless you've been taken away from your mother from your youth and you didn't have a mother figure. It's still a mother issue. So how your mother showed up in the world is how you will address people in the world. So if mother was very cold, detached, you will tend to attract people cold and detached, and you may take on that antage. Men don't really imprint on children as much, other than being traumatizing to the mother. And then the mother will express herself, and that's how the children will emulate themselves. That's psychology 101. Okay, so it's always the mother. So how your mother showed up, whether she was timid, whether she wasn't forthcoming, she wasn't honest, she was traumatizing, she was neglectful, she was loving, she was beautiful, she was friendly, she was vulnerable. That's how you show up, or that's how you address people, or that's what you pick up. Okay, so mother matters most. I'm not saying fathers don't. And if a father takes on a mother's role, maybe as a single father, the child will still be traumatized from the neglect of a mother. So it will still show up as mother. Okay, so that's my personal opinion. That's from what I've known. I'm a woman of a certain age. I've seen this, vetted it out, and I'm 1000% on that. Okay, so mother issues matter. Mothers matter. Okay, so if you have mother issues, most likely you'll be a woman that can't deal with other women, because you haven't resolved mama issues. Acknowledge mama. Acknowledge her challenges, acknowledge the things that she may have been able to do or non-resolve. Forgive her for those aspects of herself that she was unable to really, maybe overcome in her own lifespan, okay? And release her from those debts, because you will bring her back in another incarnation where she has debts based on you still holding on to that resentment. And then forgive yourself for taking on your mother's issues. Remember, I did this all in Brazil. I told you I went to a shaman, and that's when I learned I had family members that were locked in etheric jail, and I was holding on to some of their imprints that they had unresolved in their life on earth. And it wasn't until I did that a lot of things were remedied in my life. So These are things that most people are unable or unwilling to do. And it's necessary in order to do another quantum leap in consciousness and in evolution of your codons, your gene pool. Okay. And you want to do this before you have children, but it's okay to do it after. Okay. Because you'll bring them with your karmic debt. The more elevated you are, the higher frequency your children will show up, and with less karma to resolve. Okay. So mama issues. You had to forgive your mama after she transitioned. Good job, Nisi. It's beautiful. It's mothers. Listen, being a mother. Let's all talk from this point of view. For anybody who's been traumatized with their mother, to be on this planet as a woman for the last 1,000 years, every mother's been traumatized. She's been subjected. She's been oppressed. She's been subjugated, and she's been abused. Every mother on this planet, animal, insect, and otherwise human. So if you take that as a matter of fact, which it is the case, I haven't met any mother, I don't care if she's a wealthy lunar or a poor brown person, or a wealthy brown person and a poor lunar. Every woman on this planet has been traumatized for the last 1,000 years. If that's the case, in incarnations, you got incarnated women coming on with the same karmic debt, and some of them can't resolve it because they're locked in an etheric prison of resentment of you as a physical representative of their lineage. Release them. Release them from that debt, and you will be released from the same jail imprisonment that she's undergoing still in incarnations previous and after. Okay, that's it. We got to do it. And I didn't know. I wasn't a forgiving person. Remember, I'm the biggest person. I have daggers on people who do dirt. But mother issues is why our planet is the way it is. It is mothers who are not loving themselves, who allow children to be molested and killed or trafficked because of their lack of self-awareness. It is mothers on this earth that give birth to unbalanced males that are abusive and egregious to other women. It is mother issues that bring on the pain of this planet because she has not resolved the pain within her womb. So she is allowing the birth or the bastardization of everything to come in her forefront. It's all relative. Okay. And it's not putting blame on her, but it's taking responsibility for things that we need to resolve as a female component on this planet. We aren't victims here. Okay. We had to go through our own evolutionary process. And this is part of the twinning conversation. Twinning is just that. You know, a lot of times, you know, my mom was amazing as far as a female component in my life, seeing her with other women. But there were certain imbalances that I showed up because she hadn't resolved. My grandmother, who's 102, was the most amazing pioneer, but she wasn't necessarily the most loving component. So my mother grew up with a woman who was like a warrioress, walking through the world unapologetically, but she wasn't as loving. So my mother had trauma issues with my grandmother. My grandmother with me was more loving because she had resolved a lot of issues by the time she was older and had grandchildren that she didn't resolve when she was giving birth to my mother and my uncle. Okay, so there's a lot of things that are taking place on a quantum level, on a biological level, and on an ancestry level that need to be resolved. Twinning can only be allotted for those who are balanced. If you still have issues with you and your mother and your father, there isn't any twinning that can happen. You have to resolve that. Be the change you want to see in the world. The first change that you can make is only with self. And I've been humbled to this, and I'm still being humbled to this day. All right? So if that's helpful for anyone, Dolo, the pilot man. Yes, Dolo. If you get a chance, watch his video on Twin Flames. I watched it. Like I said, I watched it after I did, you know, I rolled with my homie, my twin. And after that, I almost feel like it solidified it. After I was with my homie, Dolo came on with that video. I was like, wow, Twin Flames, what? And astrology, so is amazing. So check him out. Check him out. I really appreciate his video and what he had to share. His language is really piloted. So it isn't for the slight. You know, I'm not a fan of listening to people use, you know, interesting verbiage. But I think some people transmute the actual negation with certain language than others. He's one of those beings. So if you get a chance, check him out. So I hope this was helpful with the twinning. I wish everyone happy twinning. Again, I'll probably go on and be more personalized. I love doing more personal videos on IG because they don't stay on long. They kind of fade with the wind. So I will share some of my lessons with twinning, physical, or I'm in the love series on Patreon. So I'll probably do a Patreon video. I forgot about that. Being a Sag is so interesting. Being a Sag is one of those things, we do things and we just forget because we do so many things. So if you get a chance, you know, I'll try to, like I said, I still have to unpack. I still haven't unpacked my stuff from my trip. Everything's washed. I just haven't unpacked it. I washed it when I was at the resort and I just packed it in. And it's cherry season too. So if you get a chance, yeah, I might share things like that. But big up to all the twinners, twinning, enjoying their twin flames. Big up to all those who are trying to twin by resolving anything that needs to be done to level themselves up to allow twinning to occur. Big up to those who are just chilling with their karmic mates and their soulmates and enjoying love, which is amazing. And big up to those who are chilled out with their own company, who are cool with them, who have made their lives more amazing just by being happy with self and chilling with self. You know what I mean? So I never want to say you don't have to mate with somebody else to be relative. I'm sorry. You could just be with yourself. I like my company. I learned to appreciate my company. I appreciate watching movies on my own, eating food on my own. I have little people that keep me company. It isn't necessary. You like chilling with yourself. So listen, if you're chilling with yourself, with your twin, with your soul, or your karmic mate, enjoy that time. We're about to go through a huge shift. And 2020 is going to have a lot of shock value for many people. Big up to 2020 that's coming online. I'm looking forward to the changes necessary in order to bring us to that heightened quantum leap, which we are undergoing right now. This beautiful time on this planet. And many different ET groups are watching and observing from a lovely, healthy space. And as we move forward into our elevated status on this beautiful planet we call Mother Tiamat, Mother Gaia, Mother Earth, whatever you call her, we're about to experience nirvana. And for those who are out of alignment, who are bastards who like to hurt little babies, who like to have sex with children. I'm talking about you bastards too. Listen, if you're a 50-year-old man having sex with a 20-year-old, you're sick. If you're a 50-year-old woman or a 60-year-old woman having sex with a 20-year-old boy, you're sick. For anyone who likes to watch child porn or engage in hurting children or likes to beat their children or has no love for self, you have a problem. And if you don't resolve it, you won't be able to stay on this planet. So you better pony up, or get out. Okay, so it's not a threat, it's a promise, because I don't have to do anything about it. The planet's doing it for me. So bigger to Mother Tiamat that's kicking all you heinous creatures off this planet, and for all the Andromedans and other positive groups that are assisting the process, because you're some dirty beings that are being how about a 65-year-old who's with a 31-year-old? There's a lot of sickos on this planet. We've lived in a cycle of inversion with a lot of diabolical beings that are in that material realm. You know, material is like, you know, sex, dead trees, dead presidents, you know, all kinds of death. You know, they're inverted. When the males who are disconnected from self, look at some of the males who are molesting children. I want you to see them, family. Some of you like to be in denial and be in, I can't look at that. I'm doing yoga all day. I don't want to visualize. No, you need to see it. You can't resolve things if you're ignoring it. You're the problem on this planet too. For some of you denying Nistas who are all love and light, who refuse to even look at things from the true vantage point, you have to assist. You know, just sitting there in complacency and just allowing things to happen because, I'm not a part of that diagram. You are. If you're living on this planet, you're a party to it. And not seeing it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean it has to be in your life. But part of the transmuting is seeing and acknowledging it and being able to transmute it. That's part of basic alchemy. Some of you are in denial. Okay, so if you have the dirty bastards, remember, and that's why I give women the ultimate responsibility. Some of you women birth some heinous children on this planet. Someone was showing me these dirty, diabolical little demons burning up a homeless man in his tent, and they were called youth, right? Dana was on. Dana, big up to Dana Voodoo, who was on Flubber and Cypher. Yeah, burning up a homeless man's tent from the inside. Those are demons. Who raised them? We could blame men all day. But what mother has raised these little demons to be here and to be allotted? Because let me explain something. When you bring a demon on this planet, it is your responsibility to keep them under lock and key. If you've brought up children that are lacking in empathy and sympathy for other beings, animals, insects, and otherwise, it's your responsibility to keep your little beastlings on a tight chain until you can transmute them or until you can hold them into, what is it, like quarantine, until they're able to be cleared off by, maybe some outer perimeters or exorcise from the demons in them. I have to say that because there are a lot of little demon seeds out here doing diabolical things, killing animals and so on. That comes from a vibration of the parents, especially the mother's womb. So some of you have to take responsibility for some of these little beastlies. And I say this with zero regret. Okay? Yeah, there's a lot of mothers. I had a mother-in-law who allowed her son to be, even to this day, my mother-in-law is a demon and demon creator. She's created a son who has a lack of self accountability. She never made that man accountable for anything. He's heinous to women, and he has some issues with self-esteem. That has to do with his mother. Remember, the fruit tells everything about the tree. So a rotten fruit comes from a very sick tree. Okay, so it isn't to say mothers, sometimes it's a matter that yes, you've done things and you need to resolve them, but also take responsibility for how you felt about yourself. And that will also help to transmute and also heal the offspring. So by you, the very mother who created a child that was imbalanced, you resolving your imbalance within yourself, you permeate that in your bloodline. So you actually heal your bloodline by healing yourself. Okay. So, mothers, I don't want to put too much pressure. Like I said, it's an observation, staying out of judgment, but there needs to be some more responsibility for women, because a lot of times we put a lot more responsibility on men when those men were birthed by women. Okay, so I'm just saying, we have two X's that aren't broken. It's like you're gonna take a child and put them more responsibility and more credence on responsibility on them, when you are the facilitator and the proper, you are the person who's supposed to be the voice of reason. Okay, I'm not going to tell a broken X to act like they're gods when it's really the double X's that have all their legs together. You know what I mean? You have all the legs on your DNA. You know what I mean? It's not to take away from men's responsibility, but remember, I think we put a lot of stressors on males, and we take away the fact that they come from females. All males portal through females. There isn't a male unless he's cloned or he's, empty seed or a hologram. We're not talking about those. Those are diabolical beings, and we're not talking about them. But I'm talking about all of the males that have been portaled through female stargates. Okay, if a stargate is unhealthy or it brings in demons, it comes from a female. So females, you have to take, start taking more responsibility for how you bring or how males show up. Okay, I'm not saying you're responsible for all these demons out here, but there are women who are responsible for bringing them on the earth based on their own imbalances. Okay. All right. So anyway, I hope this, let me give an apology for some of the Nistas who were on here the other day who felt like I was judging mothers who, stepmothers. Big up to all the beautiful stepmothers out here. I think I made a video the other day and I just, I was basically just sharing my own intel of what I know, but I wasn't stating that every single stepmother is a demon. Big up to all the amazing stepmothers, mothers that are not stepmothers, but are beautiful nurturers who actually do beautiful taking on other people's beautiful children, even if they aren't theirs. I know plenty of those, but I also know that that is an exception to a rule. So when I was stating that earlier, I didn't want to disrespect anyone who's beautiful, who had a beautiful mother who was not their own, who did beautiful with them. I acknowledge that as well. So I wanted to apologize for anyone who might have been offended for me making it seem like it was everyone. It isn't. There's some amazing people out here, amazing nurturers and fathers who are stepfathers who are amazing as well. So for those who felt a certain way, I do apologize to you for that. No harm, no foul. And also, I wanted to say that it's beautiful for unions that have a father and mother in a household. I wasn't saying that being a single mother, a mother who is without partnership, is the end all be all. All I'm saying is that I think there's there is a campaign, a smear campaign on women that care for their offspring on their own without a parental figure accompanying her. So I was just addressing the demonization of women who are just mothers, okay, and are being called single mothers as a way to perpetuate something negative with them. That's all I was stating. I was reared. Many of you know I was reared for my mom and dad, and they were married 60 years, and that's my entire family dynamics. The majority of my people in my family are married and rear their children with both parents in hand. But I will say that even in the wild, I know we aren't animals, but in the wild, it doesn't take a male and female to raise healthy children. If a woman is healthy, she will raise healthy offspring, both male and female. That's it. So I think I just wanted to take away the demonization of women who are caring for their offspring, because to me, if a wonderful woman, a female, is rearing her children, most of the time not by choice, because maybe the male she chose is unhealthy, because she leveled up and found out that that wasn't healthy, like my situation, and she opted out in order to rear her children healthy on her own. I don't think she should be labeled with something that's unnecessary and untrue. So that's all I was stating. So apologies for all those who might have been offended. There isn't any reason to do so, and I do acknowledge that there are many wonderful nurturers out here who raise many children that aren't even their own, beautifully healthy and balanced. All right, so it's all good in the hood. So all right, family, happy twinning. You'll probably see me maybe a little later on IG if I'm feeling a little saucy, but I think I'm hanging out with my twin once again. Big up to all those twinning. I really will have more intel as time goes on with my twin. I'm really appreciative to all of those amazing shares from many people who have been discussing twins for a long time, even before I even acknowledged that twinning was even plausible or possible. Big up to those who are trying to, resolve anything that needs to be cleared before they twin. So this twinning phenomenon isn't necessarily a phenomenon. It's the real deal Holyfield. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the twins. I'm looking forward to opening portals into other worlds with my twin flame. And, I don't know that I want to necessarily be with my twin like that, but right now all I can say is, in this personal space and time, in this reality, I'm feeling my twin. I really have a beautiful affinity for my twin. So I hope all is well. I love you. Enjoy. Yes, please. Thank you, Vivian. Please like the video. I know a lot of times, because I will only do videos, like I said, I'll only do videos that I know you like. I won't come on this platform. I'll just go to other platforms and do what I do. But if you like the video, give it a healthy thumbs up. Because I just talk about what I think is relative and what's well received. If it isn't, I don't want to give you more nonsense banter that you don't really feel, you're not feeling. So I love you. Have an amazing time. For all of you twinners, make masterful love and open up portals. Cause all kinds of kinetic earthquakes on this planet. Shake off the fleas. That's what we do. So I love you. All right. We'll talk again. Peace.